You can really quit saying action when you do these. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is a special request from Sherry, who was the maid of honor in my wedding, and my Kappa sister. I am doing double the recipe that I made up, because for some reason my husbands and my sons like to eat this until they make themselves sick and they complain about how bad their stomach hurts and all that. But bottom line is, it's really good. Good news is, you also eat it cold. I'm gonna cook it right now. I'm gonna heat my kitchen up a little bit because you have to cook it. Nobody's gonna eat raw chicken, at least I hope not. And then stick it in the fridge and it'll be done. First thing, I have about 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I've got about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here, medium high, medium, turn that down just a little bit to medium heat. Not a whole lot of seasoning on this because the bulk of the seasoning comes later. Now, these look more like cutlets. A lot of times I'll just do a couple of whole breasts, but the reason these are these small cutlets is because I trimmed some chicken for another dish that I was making a stuffed chicken breast, and so these are the pieces that I cut off of the larger breast, shoved in a bag, and froze for a day like today. This actually won't take very long to cook up because of how thin they are. I'm going to season this with a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to put a tablespoon of minced garlic in with this chicken, and then I'm just going to put the lid on it and let it saute until it's done. And while it's cooking, I'm also going to go ahead and boil 2 1-pound boxes of tricolor rotini pasta. I like the tricolor. I think that it gives just a little bit of flavor and it's not too overwhelming. So, because trust me, there's a lot of garlic in this, and you don't want a whole lot of mixing and warring flavors with your dish. You want the whole dish to shine instead of one flavor. So I'm going to let this keep cooking until the chicken is done, and then I'll show you what the next step is when the chicken and the pasta are both done. You did not just say play ball. Really? Really?
Well, you said not to say action.
I'm going to tell you not to say anything in a minute. All right. Remember when I said earlier that there was going to be more flavor coming in and then I would tell you about it? I'm going to tell you about it. I have a cup of olive oil. And with that olive oil, I'm going to add in ½ a cup of balsamic vinegar to make an emulsion. The trick to this is to stir, stir, stir while you add that beautiful balsamic vinegar in order to get that emulsified like a nice dressing. How nice and thick that got, and how those, you can't tell where one begins and the other one ends. The reason you want that mixed up that well is because you're about to dump a whole bunch of stuff in this bowl at once, and it'll help it all blend together better. Actually, I'm gonna start with the pasta. So I got my pasta done, and that little bit of water that's dripping off there is actually cold water. I rinsed it really well with cold water to cool it down, because like I said, this is a cold pasta, and on a day like today, oh my gosh, y'all, the heat index is 115. 115. It should not be like that, but it is. I have a funny app on my phone that says snarky stuff about the weather, and it said that Satan called and he wanted his weather back. So that's kind of the way it is, honestly. ½ of a red onion, finely diced. And then we have all this beautiful chicken. You want your chicken to get just done, just a little brown. I actually let mine sit and rest for about 10 minutes because, oh, look at that. I missed a piece when I was cutting it all up. Because that keeps all those juices in there. And I cut it up at about 1-inch pieces, bite-sized pieces. You want this to be something that you can just dig in and go at. So we've got all of this beautiful chicken. Like I said, it's about 2 pounds. Don't go out there and start measuring and weighing your chicken. Just figure out you got about 2 pounds and go with it. And my hands are a mess. I'm gonna stir this all in, and I'm gonna put it in the fridge for a little while once I get it all stirred up, just because I like for the whole thing to get nice and cold. You gotta pull some of that balsamic up from the bottom. You always wanna make sure you dig all the way down to the bottom when you're stirring this to make sure that that vinaigrette that you made gets distributed. You can see how the pasta is starting to look all shiny. That's because the olive oil and the vinegar that we've mixed together are starting to distribute all the way through. Now, once this is cold and ready to eat, and it doesn't have to be super cold. I had a coworker who loved this recipe, couldn't stand it cold. When I would bring it, I always had to heat it up. So, okay, you do you. We prefer it cold. I serve it with feta cheese because the saltiness of that feta along with the balsamic just gives it the best flavor. The flavor just bursts in your mouth. But then we have my weirdo son. He's standing back there grinning at me because he likes to put blue cheese dressing on it. I don't know why. I love blue cheese dressing. I might consider putting blue cheese crumbles on it, but blue cheese dressing, no. So, in conclusion, on a day like today, when you know it's going to be nasty, hot, and gross outside, and you don't want to heat your kitchen up for very long, pasta takes what, 10, 12 minutes? The chicken took maybe 15 minutes. Cooking them both at the same time, yeah, it warmed it up in here. But I could do this first thing in the morning. It could sit in the fridge all day, instant supper later in the afternoon, and I really don't have to cook that evening, not afternoon, evening, when it's still hot as blazes out. Y'all try this. It's a huge hit every time I let someone try it. Enjoy and take care of yourselves.